We're gonna call the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission meeting to order for Wednesday, February 24th at 4 p.m. If everybody please stand for the pledge. LaPorte.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mary Jane.
Randy Novak.
Present.
Randy Novak. Joe Core.
Present.
Rich Mrzinski.
Present.
Terry Larson. Terry Larson. He's there.
He said present.
Said present.
Scott-
I can see him.
Scott
Put the
Cooley.
record- Present.
Michael Mullenauer.
Present.
Michael Rosenbaum.
Present.
Jan Riberty.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a full house. You have a quorum.
Fantastic. Approval of the agenda for today.
So moved. Second. Doesn't matter.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Public comment is now open. Anybody from the public would like to speak? Anybody from the public would like to speak? Anybody from the public? Public comment is now closed. Communications, Mary Jane.
Communications, Sender and Company is working on your 2020 Gateway Annual Report, so we got information for them on your expenses for the year. We got a GIS parcel list for them as well with the auditor's office. We got a treasurer's report from the auditor's office, and then we worked with Barnes and Thornburg on their invoices because they were concerned about, they had like 4 months of back invoices, which we took care of. And Bailey always helps me every month with the credentials for the Zoom meeting. And then I sent you copies of the Redevelopment Association of Indiana. They had their legislative bills and things like that that affect redevelopment commissions that we'll watch as the legislative session goes on.
Great.
And that's the end of your communications for the month.
Thank you. Minutes from the last meeting. Everybody should have those from January 27th.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. There any other questions, corrections, or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Treasurer's report, Mary Jane?
Your balances as of your claims that will be approved today is as follows. KIDC TIF $4,689. 421 allocation area number 1 $403,859. That includes your allocation for the second half of 2020. 421 allocation area 2, which is restricted to your debt payments, $85,416. And 39 North, $67,544. That's the end of the treasurer's report. You want it?
No problem. Just reiterate, you said KIP tip has $4,000?
It's on the bottom here.
$689, and that includes your TIF
Got it.
reimbursement for the second part of the year.
Right, got it. All right, just want to make sure I was writing down numbers, so.
Correct.
All right, is there,
So when does that get more input?
The more input will come when your first installment from 2021, which will be June of 2021.
Halfway through this year?
Correct.
after the first increment?
That's normal, right?
All right, is there a motion to accept the,
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
motion and a second? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Claims. The KIDC TIF, Thomas and Associates for January services in the amount of $685.75. Harold Argus, January 21 legal publication in the amount of $16.76. Freeman and Associates legal services invoice 105 6.95 in the amount of $450 for a total out of the KIDC TIF of $1,152.51. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next one is the US 421 number 1 TIF, Thomas and Associates, January 21 professional services in the amount of $685.75. MCR Partners, February 21st professional services in the amount of $5,000. Harold Argus, January 21 publication notice in the amount of $16.76. Sender and Associates, or Sender and Company, professional services invoice 8486 in the amount of $215.62. And Friedman and Associates, February 21, legal services in the amount of $1,500 for a total of $7,418.13. And just as a comment, I believe we're taking more of Matt's pay out of this one because KIP is short right now. Because we take it out of each one. So
That's why his is increased. Got it.
Right.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next one is the 39 North TIF MCR Partners, February 21 professional services in the amount of $1,000. Thomas and Associates, January 21 professional services in the amount of $806. Sender and Company professional services, invoice 8486 in the amount of $215.63 for a total of $2,021.63.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So total claims today from all three TIF areas is $10,592.27. Moving on to old business, 421 I-94 TIF project, Matt Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and commission members. Brief update of 421 and 94. The good people at TransCanada are still reviewing the last submittal by Loves to see how that can work. Now, with what we saw on the federal level, I don't know how focused they're going to be on LaPorte County. I think I mentioned that last meeting, but I haven't heard any feedback from them as to if the Loves latest proposal was acceptable from their cost standpoint. And to be honest with the group here, I'm having this is quite a stumbling block that continues to be an issue on that development, which I think as the members are aware, I mean, without water and sewer over there, we're not going to get development over there. I mean, you have a highway access, but you don't have any utilities. So, I guess in the next month or so, I mean, I gotta either continue to seek alternative sources of financing that aren't related to tax increment financing. I know that Mary Jane and I have been working on the second go round of the EDA grant. But at some point, I think we're gonna have to engage and have a discussion with the county council about doing that project. And if that's, if this is the right time to do it. I don't think anybody would disagree that the merits of extending utilities at an interchange makes sense. I just think it's a function of, what is the right time for that to happen. So without a development, we don't have TIF. Without that, we can't pay the financing, and it's a big, circle.
And until that pipeline thing gets straightened out, it's gonna be
Until the pipeline gets straightened out, then Loves won't do anything. So.
Right.
I mean,
And
I even asked Loves to buy the bonds, and I asked the contractor to buy the bonds, and nobody seems to be willing to do that.
well, then the pipeline goes across the street.
It's going to,
Right.
our problems with that TransCanada pipeline will continue,
Right.
yes, because it goes north, and it's on the other side of the interchange, and runs through developable property that's both in the county and in Michigan City, and they're aware of the fact that there's proximity issues that have to be dealt with. And, you know, I don't know that it's worth wading into the pile of federal paperwork any more than we already have to make them do anything. I mean, you know, it's almost like I need a landowner to start litigating, is what I kind of need.
Right.
It makes it real difficult to handcuff both Tony and Matt on LaPorte County Economic Development when you have numerous acreages, but you have no utilities. And it's like hitting a lottery if you hit the right person or company to come in to LaPorte County and spend money without having the utilities up front. And to make that tie, it's been very difficult. Now, this has been going on for 8, 9, 10 years now. So sooner or later, I agree with you. I think if we don't try to go to the council to try to get reimbursed to put the utilities in, then I'm not so sure development is going to work. I know the pipeline is one part of the headache.
Yep.
But there's a lot of property out there that has nothing to do with pipeline. And they can't do anything either.
You know, continuing south along 421, there's a lot of land.
Right.
Mr.
Lots.
Oh, you done, Joe?
I'm done.
Okay.
I have two questions. One is, could you just give us a round number of what we're talking about as far as financing the extension of the utilities?
Yes.
That's the first thing.
The bid number we received is about 4.1 million for construction.
That's the one that we just
okay. Did, so you guys
I just wanted to make sure that's the one that we were working
That
with.
is the one we're working off. So
And-
we have real, you know, the other good thing, we have real numbers, so we're not.
Okay, so if we were to bring it to the council, would there be a way for it to get repaid?
Yes, is my answer. So we could pledge the new increment to be remitted back to the Major Moves Fund. That's a thing that could happen. You know, that's not a bad strategy. I think it's good to be able to turn the money over. But I guess my point is, there's, you know, we the government are being asked to really shoulder a lot of the risk with this deal. But if you the government don't do anything, it will stay like it is.
So my follow-up is, if somehow this gets built, the extension of the utilities gets built, gets to the properties, what's the second, I mean, are we still going to be at the mercy of TransCanada?
We will not be.
Well, you will be with the Loves.
I'll be for that acreage.
For that acre.
But everything going south? Nope. Out of the way.
So we'd have to extend a little longer.
Well, where we stopped it, Mike, was at the 300. So it's like there. So there's, I want to say 200 acres-ish if you, on the west side, excluding whatever is going on in Patriot Park. We did EDUs and all of that for the grant app and identified property and did the zoning, and you know, it's all out there. And I think maybe what might be helpful is if we do go talk to the council about it, that I get all that information together, say, you know, here's the projected growth. Let's just put Loves aside for a minute. Or how about move Loves somewhere else? Or further west, or in between Van Air and the, 400. So there's options. We just don't have any because the economic driver for this to date was Loves, and they were the first person to commit to doing it. So it was a.
Is there the option of, at one time we talked about the county council putting in like half, and then what was the amount that Carl said that the TIF right now will support? Is there any?
We're my recollection says that we won't get there. If the council did half, I think we could maybe get there by pledging all of the existing increment in there and the extra that's been set aside in 421 allocation area 2,
right,
which is like 250, and then take the 250 that the gracious people of Michigan City Water said they'd throw into it. So, I mean, I guess I can run through that math again and see where we're at, because I don't want to, I think asking the council for more than we need or doing it all is probably not going to be well received, but I think by showing that all avenues have been, mined, including the private developer guys around there, and including another lap, and through discussion with the landfill man on what they're willing to contribute again.
Right.
So that's kind of, I mean, there's a number out there. It was close, I remember.
I just wanted to review the options again, because just to have a one-way path.
This is not good.
You know the wall that you're gonna hit with that.
Yep.
Or might hit with that.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr.
I think it's 56 acres in front of the landfill?
Turn your mic on. Get a mic. Grab a mic. Find a mic.
That 56, I think it's 56 acres in front of the landfill, that still can be developed if we get the utilities under, right?
No,
That
that's where
can't.
the pipeline is.
Right there.
Well, where Love selected to go in there, and the front part is wetlands, and that's been they had to mitigate the wetlands, so that's where they're at. And then the balance of that property on the north side of 300 is where we're talking about, because that pipeline goes right through the middle of it. So,
They're gonna cross the pipeline to get to Love's. Right?
yes.
So
Which is not a problem. That's not the issue, is us getting anywhere near the pipeline. The issue is somebody else encroaching on the pipeline and their federal requirements to make improvements to the security of the pipeline to be in compliance with federal law. And they also have a whole list of rules they have to adhere to and a timeline. And they acknowledge all this fully. It's not that they said we're not going to fix our pipeline. They said we're going to fix it according to the
But they had
to
like
the law.
they had like a 2-year time
Correct.
frame to do it in.
So they, like many others, are following the rules, but the rules have been drafted such that they're exceedingly flexible for that particular use. So that's what's going on.
We did get approval to do all this though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
We
was
got
all-
NDOT approvals, we have right of way, we have identified right of way, it's been appraised.
Yeah.
We stopped short of sending the letters out to the landowners for the right of ways. We're like, we're not gonna get the right of way, and, I mean, not that it was $1 bazillion, but it was $60,000 for, multiple, so we didn't do it, because there's no path to succeed until we have the funding to finance it.
And no environmental roadblocks or anything, that's all
No, sir.
good to go then.
Yes. So that's the update at 421 and 94. I don't think I missed anything out there. I know that Mary Jane's resubmittal for the EDA grant will include discussions of a logistics and value-added manufacturing opportunity behind the landfill. There's a lot of land there going west to county line. And we think that property would be an excellent location for transportation, distribution, and logistics, being that it's right off the highway.
Right.
It's flat, it's dry. So that was recreated and sent in, or will be sent in with the EDA grant. So we're trying. They kicked out the first one because they didn't like the type of jobs at Love. They're like, we want manufacturing. They're like, we can't get that unless we get a, utility line built. So, Mary Jane, did I miss anything? That?
All right.
Okay.
Next item B, KIP update.
Mr. Carroll is complete with the internal rail connections. They submitted their last reimbursement to the offices a few weeks ago. So those are in process. I don't think if you want to go out there now, but I think you might want to wait till it gets a little warmer to go out there and see what, the final product was. And everything on that end is fine. The IEDC is processing the claims. They're working its way through the auditor's office. We have ample data to back up everything that the IEDC asked for, so that's all been taken care of. A suggestion for this group and others to try and access is a discretionary grant for transportation having to do with the bridge, and I'm doing some research on that to see if that if we're in the right position to do that, or who best to do that. And is the
Trestle Bridge?
yeah, I mean, that's kind of the one. There's like that piece, and it's it's a headache. I mean, it's a lot of acreage, so it's it's not as simple as some people might.
Was the price on that bridge like 500,000?
That's that's the other thing I really want to get to the bottom of. I heard 5 million. I heard 500,000. I heard you could basically send anybody out there and kind of put it together. It's going to depend greatly on what happens with the removal or replacement, because it goes through a navigable waterway under the jurisdiction of the Corps. So that's what you have to deal with. So I would hope that it would be replaced and not replaced, repaired, and it would be a modified permit process that will just cut down on timelines. So we're working on that. The other thing that we're actively pursuing is the license agreement for the entirety of the rail in the park. And those discussions are ongoing and have all to do with the price points for the bridge. And also, this item I'm going to turn over to Shaw is perfecting the easement for the rail the rail points, because that's the other point. Once I get past the bridge, that's it. So I'm going to turn over to Shaw to give the commissioners an update on the comings and goings of our rail easement.
As Matt indicates, that's really the last piece, is the easement over the Rinker property, and unfortunately we've made very good headway on that. We have a status hearing set for tomorrow morning in Circuit Court. The tentative plan is to remind the court the appraisers were unanimous in their valuation of the easement at $67,230, which was very close to the county's original appraisers. We'll explain that the county has now deposited the funds in order to move forward. So as you recall, my discussion with you, that once the funds are deposited, the auditor's office will issue a deed showing that the easement is now in possession of the Redevelopment Commission. So the only issue outstanding is payment for the easement. We've taken title to it. The only issue still before the court is the final price of that easement. The court has approved what we've suggested. The Rinkers have objected to the appraiser's report. They've yet to provide any evidence that contradicts the appraised valuation in favor of a higher price. They've not made a specific counteroffer to the county. What we're going to do, because I know the commission would like to get this litigation resolved as quickly as we can, rather than having it go forward in contested fashion, we're going to suggest to the court perhaps a mediation to see if we can get them to the table, finally agree to a final price. Otherwise, it goes forward in contested fashion. We're spending more time, more legal fees. We want to get this done. The key is you've taken title to the easement. The development can go forward in terms of the CN connection with the easement in hand, and we've just got to finish up the issue in terms of a final court order on the amount that is paid to the Rinkers at this point. So I would expect that we'll probably have a further status hearing soon, but it's our hope that we can get this done through a mediation as opposed to expert reports and further litigation and further costs as we go forward. But the easement is in hand, and it is no longer an impediment to developing the CN connection.
There is a hearing tomorrow morning?
Yeah, 11:30 in Circuit Court.
Right.
Is the CSX hooked up? Is the CS switch hooked up, or that's not open yet? No.
Not yet.
I don't think so.
That's part
Different
of
end.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Other
CN,
end.
we're
Well,
working.
I know, but I just wondered if that was up. Okay.
I thought Carol was putting in the switch.
He was just finished the interior, and that's part of his agreement with the rail user. So I can ask him for an update on when that starts.
But he is going to put in the switch. I mean, that's
Yes.
all.
Yep.
All right.
I thought it was contract.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Just want to make sure. Yep.
So I mean, I don't want to talk out of school. I know they have agreements going on, and I'm not privy to them.
Yeah, he's got to finalize his agreement with CSX, but that was part of the deal, was that
Correct,
he has to
right.
finish that off and put in the switch so we get this
But
connection on the
everything's in
side.
place for that to
Yes, sir.
take place.
Absolutely.
All right. Sounds good. How about 39 North update?
How about 39 North? We're still in the hunt, ladies and gentlemen, for the company out of Illinois. It's not that. I guess it's kind of complicated that this particular user was a great job creator, 66 jobs, and well over $3.5 million in payroll. So it's a kind of a nice deal. And they were going to go to Illinois. We had several meetings. We did a lot of site search and due diligence. And we're still in the battle. This 39 North is the location. We've talked about how to use the TIF and why and what it might mean to them there. There isn't a building there, so we're really reviewing our options as to how to do that. And one of those, just to keep the commissioners aware, I mean, there is a provision in statutes that allow the government to build these buildings and lease them. And that's one approach. You can do that. The other method is to identify private sector people to do this. And after kind of reviewing the options of the government doing it, it's just cheaper, faster, better for the private sector to do this. They're going to be able to respond quickly and directly. So we're finalizing an opportunity for a LaPorte County contractor / owner, and have identified the site, got a price point, so nobody's going to retrade on the value for us this time. And we'll see what happens here in the next month, because they're going to make a decision. So,
Great. Thank you.
With regard to 39 North, we may want to have Mary Jane also update. I know she's been working closely with the leadership of 39 North on our grant proposal for the water tower. Remember, it would be an 80-20 split, and I'll let Mary Jane kind of update on that.
The application has the PER completed, it has the environmental completed, and we also went before the 39 North Conservancy Board to have them approve their authorization to apply and their match. And the most critical piece is the economic beneficiaries. And Matt mentioned that the company from Illinois, I'm talking to Hickman Williams to see if they can get the company to sign the form. EDA does not want to hear from a developer. They want to hear from the actual person who will make the investment, create those 66 jobs, provide that $3 million in payroll, make that $45 million in investment. They have to hear from them. And that's the challenge. Sometimes folks are uncomfortable signing on the dotted line.
Got it.
So otherwise, we'll be ready to go once we get that.
And I should indicate as well, because we've conveyed to the 39 North Board just how committed the Redevelopment Commission is to this project, the water tower project, and there is great appreciation by all the board members about RDC having authorized Mary Jane to prepare that application. It is an incredibly complicated application that has to be submitted to EDA. It does provide, if we're able to secure it, 80% federal funds for that water tower, with 20% coming in the balance of local funds. So it would be an exciting opportunity if we can land that, but the 39 North Board wanted me to convey their appreciation for RDC's strong support for this.
Definitely. Thank you. New business, 35 and 94 TIF update, Matt Reardon.
we're preparing the engineering cost estimates for that. I need to have a little more interaction with the developer, not to a point where I'm comfortable with what the public costs might be for the infrastructure yet. And probably in the next couple of months, to be honest with you, the developer kind of put the brakes on it a little bit by virtue of location. They're somewhere warm and they're not here, so they weren't able to get their bids and such together. So there's a little delay, but it didn't hurt timeline. And as long as this is completed before the end of the year, which would, we're at I'm just so used to saying March 1st assessment date, January 1st assessment date. As long as we don't go past January 2020, the assessment date locks in, so there's no impact on the base year calculations or any of that. So that's moving forward. That'd be another great project, and we're going to keep working with that developer. He's another regional guy that spends money around here, so that's good. That's it. Any questions about that one?
No. There's sewer that goes out there, but it's not big enough. I mean, we'd have
It's not connected, and you got to go under 35 to get there, and there's going to be some needs to do some water improvements. There's some engineering that needs to be done in that southeast quadrant.
Right.
It's not it's not a, I don't think it's I'm not even gonna say how much it is, never mind. There's some engineering stuff that needs to be done. I don't know what it is yet. My engineers are trying to finalize it, so when we
Yeah.
do, we'll give you an engineer's estimate of probable cost.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any other business?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I have a brief update of the Indiana General Assembly, and it's halftime at the General Assembly, and there were hundreds of bills that were proffered, and not many make it this far, so I focused my review on the bills that would impact the Redevelopment Commission directly, or may do that, and I'm going to start on the Senate side. They seem to have had more luck. This is sort of germane to us, but not. Senate Bill 72 would provide for farmer tax abatement to be added to the other tax abatement opportunities. So that got through the Senate. It's going to end up in the House. I didn't see who the sponsor was, but as I said, once a bill gets this far, you have an opportunity to end up another piece of legislation because you're alive and they can amend you into something else. So I thought that was interesting. Senate Bill 215 is related to redevelopment projects, and this is directly interesting to us because it would expand the allocation areas or the money provisions from 25 to 50 in certain instances. It does create also, I thought was interesting, a fund called the Regional Economic, I don't know, like we need an acronym, easy for me to say. Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative, READY. So they're gonna be a pile of money to help with regional projects. My suspicion is they're seen the success of people like the Regional Development RDA and Lake County and Porter County and the other ones they've created, and they're trying to create a model for those areas in the state that are not part of those other regional entities. So it's kind of pretty smart, I think. Senate Bill 377 is a broadband bill, and I thought it was interesting not only to our efforts, but Tony runs the broadband initiative, and a lot of our areas aren't really served that greatly by broadband, and that includes the redevelopment districts. I mean, think about what's happening down at Kingsbury. I mean, it's pretty rough down there to get a signal. So it seems that they've softened the requirements that they've had put on themselves for the use of federal money. And like I said, it's halftime. For all I know, there could be a convergence of utilities that put an end to this bill, which sometimes happens. But it's out there. They're talking about having more flexibility, which when Tony started the process, and some of the members, you guys might be members and gals, that was part of the problem. LaPorte would apply for this money, and they're like, well, you don't really qualify because not everybody is completely without service. I mean, it seemed to be the methodology instead of how can you improve what you have or expand. So that was another interesting bill. And this is related to development. It's Senate Bill 389. It's the state wetland regulations. It's a bill to do away with them. I'll be interested to see if this actually gets through. What it doesn't do is change the federal law, which is in place anyway. So you have the federal regulations with regard to wetlands and then a state regulation with regard to wetland. I'd be hard pressed to say that they're any different. They obviously can't repeal federal legislation, so there are protections in place. It just seems to be a process that would help investment and development. Along those lines, there were several bills that were directed to pro-development, a lot of bills, and some of them got passed, some of them didn't. One of them, I just thought it was interesting. It doesn't have anything to do with us, but House Bill 1114 removes design standards from residential development. So let's say you're on the Plan Commission and you passed all those. You have your design standards, and those would be null and void. So it's still alive. They don't have a Senate sponsor, but it's still alive. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of development bills out there that get amended. So that's one in particular I'm keeping an eye on.
It makes you wonder. I've seen that one. It makes you wonder just who's pushing that and why.
Yeah, I mean, somebody got mad, and their friend is a senator, and you know, whatever. I can speculate on what it is, but what I can tell you is any bill that is put out there that removes local home rule, I'm not a fan of. Anytime they try and do that. You know, conversely, the state, you know, talks about passing legislation that tells you what you can't do. And it's just very conflicting. But any bill that's out there that tries to remove home rule is problematic. And hopefully the Senate sees it that way if it makes it that far. There was 2 RDA redevelopment bills that were got out of the house, or I shouldn't say got out of the house, but have been done. 1187 is a board position discussion, and it's been a long time discussion of having voting members from the school board or voting members, non-voting school board members. So the troubling part of that bill is not the appointment to the board, but has to do with the approval process of redevelopment commissions and what you can do with the funds in a redevelopment area. So it would require an additional outreach and a resolution by a school corporation to do this. Now, in my opinion, the schools, the state of Indiana said they were paying for schools, and now they're turning it back around you as a local jurisdiction and telling you, why don't you split your pie up again, because we're not. And that's the direct impact of legislation like this. They're forcing downward pressure on redevelopment commissions to have to make a decision and pitting you against school corporations. So again, you have Indianapolis telling local communities what they should and shouldn't be doing. I'm hopeful that bill gets crushed in the Senate. It's a very heavy-duty topic that has, as some of the legislators would say, that's a slippery slope. And another bill, 1249, and I don't like bills that start out with outside of Marion County. So that's this bill.
There's probably a few of those though, isn't there?
Yeah, outside of Marion County. And this has to do with tax proceeds and how they're dealt with and where you can expend TIF money. And I think the law is pretty clear that if you prove your case in or serving the district, you know, that's what it says. But this seeks to further clarify and paper that argument. And last, and for the good of the order, House Bill 1156, there's a prohibition on microchipping employees. So be aware, can't do that.
We can't, what?
Just letting you know.
Microchipping what, I'm sorry?
Microchipping employees, you can't do that. Well, it hasn't passed yet, so be aware.
Is it wrong? I mean,
I don't know. You'd have to read it, 1156.
you think that would make the news if it's like, hey,
You
we're
would think so.
microchipping all the employees this week, so.
I would like to know what company actually suggested that as a good idea. My guess would be the company that makes the microchips.
Right, yeah, definitely. Thank you. Is there any other business for the redevelopment commission tonight? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.